Okay, so I guess where I'm at right now is in a very post object kind of mind frame, in where I want to move beyond the like objects themselves, and really just confront people with ideas. And what I'm thinking a lot about is oral communication, and how before we rendered ideas in books or even on stone tablets, there was the oral tradition. And I want to say right now that before we ever even considered putting our ideas onto objects, that we were communicating mostly through the oral tradition. And I want to almost essentialize this idea through almost every culture. So every culture, not just like the Hammurabi code or whatever, but like everything beyond that, we really communicated orally. So I want to go back to the original way of communicating information. So rather than having an object represent an idea, I just want to tell you the idea. Furthermore, it's kind of funny though that my solution to a contemporary problem is to go back to the past and in history. Anyways, I'm in making this kind of work, I also want to talk about accessibility. There has been a history of keeping knowledge segregated into very specific sort of fountains of knowledge, and this has been primarily the institution. And although I don't want to, I wouldn't, and I would probably question the notion that everybody has internet access. In the world that I currently live in, which is the West, which is the United States, that is a world in itself. And I mean that very self assertedly, in that I know that it's not the only world that exists, but it is my most immediate world. It is the world that I interact with every day, is the context that I'm in. And because I'm in the West, that carries a lot of privilege with it, and I acknowledge it, and I think that's where I'm currently at with it. Furthermore, even within that frame of the West, although it is privileged from others, there is still a lot of disparity that happens within the art world. Which brings me to sort of what I really want to talk about, and that's, I guess, the white art world. I'm very conflicted with this because, on the one hand, I want to assume that we all have the same knowledge and critiques about whiteness, and that I don't really have to be that angry queer trope, that I don't have to be that faggot that always has to fucking call out fucking everything, but I have to because I still see it happening. I want to give y'all the benefit of the doubt, but it just doesn't happen. Like hearing comments about parody and how about it's like some kind of artistic venture and how it's new. It's not. Parody is not an artistic vent. Like it is not. I don't see the way that I've seen parody a lot is that it simply reiterates images and ideas that we are used to and are essentially desensitized. But now that we attach irony to it, why why does that make it different? I don't really think it makes it different. I think that whatever James Franco is doing right now, wearing dreads, or whatever film is ironically killing off certain bodies, I don't think that that's necessarily a step forward because it is simply a reiteration of imagery that we're already seeing. I think that if we, if y'all, and by y'all I mean white artists, if y'all are to move forward and to achieve new critiques or to really bring forth new things, not only does that mean exposing or the expositive nature of work. So if, like, I don't want to get too specific, but I just might. But if we are to accept, or if we are to be presented with new images of misogyny, white supremacy, or of white male hegemony, then there needs to be a critique situated within that. You can't just reiterate imagery and have that be the only conversation that we have with your objects or ideas. Like, we, that is why I don't see parody working. And that to me is just indicative of a larger system. Like, it is in the interest of white supremacy to make things less than what they seem to be. When people are confronted with white supremacy or the privileges that come with it, people tend to react in a very kind of self victimizing kind of way. They tend to really derail from the conversation at hand. When you tell people that they're literally at the center of the universe, they want to tell you ways that they are not. And that's fine. Like, our identities are complex, and the way that we interact with the world are complex, and the way that the forces of the world act on us are complex. But at the same time, you cannot sit here and tell me that this world was not created for someone in specific. You cannot tell me that this world wasn't made with a specific person in mind. And that specific body is the body of a white, cisgendered, able bodied, heterosexual, middle class Christian man. So when you sit here and tell me all the ways where you deviate from that identity, you are not telling me the ways that you are actively challenging that identity. And the first step in challenging that identity is accepting that it exists. Accepting that you are in some ways privileged. That's the only way that I could put it. Like, privileged, like, and that just frustrates me about the art world in general. Like, y'all are so easy to accept whatever new product that a new genre's school of thought produces, but y'all aren't able to accept that y'all are privileged. And that to me is just like at a disjoint. Like, I can't really understand, I can't perceive that disjuncture. Like, I don't know how to really digest that. Like, y'all, I don't know, like, I don't know how to move forward from there. Furthermore, furthermore, moving beyond just accepting your privilege, I think that you also need to be critical of parity, and you need to be critical of even the universality concept. You might think that any kind of topic is sort of open range, but no, not every topic is sort of open range. You also have to think about not only about what you're saying, but also about how it's going to be contextualized, and also how your work is going to live outside of that, and who are you speaking over? Who are you essentializing? Who, like, there is just a lot of work that needs to be done around the way that you talk and what you say at the same time. And you just have to understand that you're not going to get away with it anymore. That it, and this might seem antagonizing, and you might just disregard it, but that's fine. I'm okay with that. As long as you are confronted with someone who is telling you to your face that this system is fucked, and I, as an individual, do not have the capacity to fix it. If it is going to be fixed, it's going to involve you. And I'm not saying that I'm trying to sympathize with you, but what I am saying is that y'all need to put in the work. Y'all can't just reiterate imagery anymore.